Dear brothers and sisters, in every one of the scriptures of the past, you find this notion of false messiahs that come and go. Some of them are more advanced than others. Some of them have certain tools of deception, or the circumstances allow for their deception to last longer than others. And sometimes, as the tools advance, then the case becomes more convincing. Because every one of these false messiahs that has come makes a claim. You have false messiah after false messiah after false messiah. And then there's the concept of the ultimate false messiah before, obviously, the ultimate messiah, which they do not want to recognize Jesus as the one. And so in our conception, as we look to this idea of Dajjal or the Antichrist or the ultimate deception master, and we talk about him and what this Dajjal looks like, or the Antichrist or the false messiah looks like, there are a few things that I wanted to cover for us today. More about the conditions in which a figure like that can rise and can take advantage of so many different people. Now, over the last 500 years, or last 150 years in specific, the tools of deception have obviously increased. The quality of those tools and those mechanics have increased. And so when the TV first came out, some said that's the Dajjal, and it's your iPad, it is your phone, and then it was Facebook, and now it's metaverse, and finally it is AI. And in fact, these are all the Dajjal, or better say his tools and servants, preparing the battlefield for his coming. And while there are certainly forms of deception that are enabled to be used as tools, which as they develop become more frightening, there is the Dajjal that we heard about from the Prophet Muhammad numerous Sunnah traditions. And there is a specific twist to the Dajjal, and that is that he is the ultimate deceiver. He has the ultimate optical illusions, is able to play with people's eyes and able to deceive them with his claims in ways that other people before him were not able to. So he is the culmination, if you will, of all of those tactics, while certainly the conditions prior to him make his arrival ripe. Now, before I go into the conditions in which Dajjal rises, I think it's very important that we talk about the things that the prophets told us on how to protect ourselves from the Dajjal. Very briefly, number one, the Prophet Muhammad mentioned true faith and belief in God, and specifically faith before it's too late to have faith, before it's too late to profess and practice. There's a time when faith comes too late, or when faith is no longer accepted. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there are three things that will come out, and once they come out, if a person did not profess faith or did not benefit from their faith by practicing what is mandatory, it will be too late for him or her. Meaning if the faith was merely an expression, but not actually a heartfelt reality or something that was acted upon or practiced. The three things mentioned are the rising of the sun from the west, the arrival of the Dajjal, and he mentioned the Dabba, also known as the beast. So he mentioned these three things, the rising of the sun, the beast, and the Antichrist, and that at that point, faith does not benefit a person. If it's sought to be initiated at that point, it's something that you have to do in advance. Number two, the prophet gave us his description, explaining who this person is and what he looks like. He said that every prophet which was sent before him warned his people about the one-eyed deceiver, this one-eyed liar, who has one eye totally covered with skin, while the other eye is bad and looks like a rotten grape. And he said that the Antichrist, claiming to be your God, is one-eyed, and your Lord is not. The Antichrist, between his two eyes on his forehead is written the word kafir, which means the disbeliever. This word will be recognized by every believer, even the illiterate ones. Number three, the prophet instructed us and taught us to seek refuge from God against the Dajjal at the end of every one of our 5 daily prostration prayers. Now, of course, if you don't pray, then you're not making the draft. So it all builds on it, right? Faith, knowledge of who Dajjal is, the faith and knowledge of how to pray, and then the prostration prayer that you do on a daily basis, and the prayer that you make in every single one of these prostration prayers. You learn this refuge-seeking verse, you memorize it, and you say it every time. Number 4, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever memorizes 10 verses from the beginning of Surah Al-Kahf will be immune from the trial of Dajjal and all the tribulation of the false Messiah. And in another narration, the Prophet also mentioned the last 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. Number 5, the Prophet taught us to flee from these trials, flee from tribulation. He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let he who hears of the Dajjal go far away from him. For I swear by Allah that a man will come to him thinking that he is a true and strong believer.
and he'll challenge him, but then he'll leave confused by the ideas and by the deception of Dajjal. So the Prophet taught us in general, don't put yourself in bad situations.
This is, of course, a general principle of fleeing from trials and tribulations, to avoid places where your faith is likely to be compromised. Don't put yourself in bad environments. So don't go and confront him. No, rather flee from this person, flee from their deception, and of course flee from the types of things that will be put out there by a Dajjal. So these are 5 things that we take from the Prophet ﷺ of how to protect ourselves from a Dajjal. We ask Allah to grant us that protection. What I want to go on is, Dajjal does not arrive in a vacuum. Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it, a complete AI creation platform without a prompt. It is not possible. So he does not come at a random time without preparations made by his servants from the demon and humankinds. There are things that precede him, that are not just signs, but that make the environment for deception that much more fertile, and make the hearts and the minds and the vision more susceptible to being deceived. Because no one pays attention to the wording. You know, sometimes we read through things so fast, but every word you've got to pause and think. You know, the Prophet said, before Dajjal comes, there are years of deception. Before this false Messiah comes, there are years of false messiahs and deceptive tactics, years of false deception, years of these things happening, right? The world changes in a way that it sort of sets the ground, it sets the stage for the Dajjal. And what do you think happens in those years of deception? The Prophet said that a truthful person is called a liar, and the liar is considered to be truthful. Why? Because the liar is good at deceiving and covering his lie, whereas the truthful, and this is something very profound, a person who is truthful will not resort to deception to prove their trustworthiness, right? And all you need to do today is watch the news and the politicians and almost everything on the internet. Every information is controlled, and there is an agenda behind it. All these musicians, actors, politicians giving these hand signs that show their devotion to the one-eyed Messiah. The music and the movie industries, and in general, all the entertainment industries, are working overtime to demolish good morals in society, break the nuclear family, create a rift between women and men, lower the education level, and indoctrinate kids from kindergartens through college, and finally make everyone an atheist or an agnostic, and the religious ones not practicing in accordance to the holy books. I mean, just look at the churches today and what they preach and how women come dressed to service.
Then the Prophet ﷺ said that the trustworthy people are discredited, and those who are treacherous are trusted. And the Prophet said that at that time, the most disgraceful of people will speak, and their voices are projected. So people can't distinguish truth from falsehood anymore, which is happening every day now. They can't distinguish trustworthy people from dishonest people anymore. And because of that, who's going to take the stage, right? The Prophet was asked, who will be these people? He said, little men, little people, little wicked people. But at the same time, they speak about all types of affairs and all types of things they have no business talking about, and they cause all types of issues for people. This is what precedes the Dajjal. So this is what's important to understand here. The world prior to him is a world where realities are distorted, and people seek to create their own paradise on earth. Our sensibilities are lost, and our good human nature is compromised. Our natural goodness and inclination is compromised. And so people operate in a day and age prior to a Dajjal in vanity, and they can't see past their immediate surface-level vision. And as people become shallower, the tools to distort shallow realities become more advanced. So people can't see beyond the movies and the graphics and the tactics and that stuff right in front of them. They can't see beyond that, but at the same time, they trust it more. And the tools by which you can distort all of that are becoming more advanced, and become so that you have the situation where, if that shallow reality doesn't immediately satisfy me, then I deny it. And this is how it affects faith. So that's why you see people deny faith in the name of rationality. Now you have to understand that Islam is an intellectual faith. Use your senses, use your brain. But then people treat their senses as divine, even those whose senses are being constantly compromised. And if I can't see it immediately in front of me, then I'm not going to believe in it. So when people talk about faith, and they talk about paradise, and they talk about the hereafter, and they talk about the unseen and all that stuff, they can't see it right in front of them. And one says, even though I don't even know what I'm seeing anymore,
It doesn't make sense to me because I can't see it right in front of me. Ironically, those who deny the existence of the Dajjal, in the name of some enlightenments, those who deny the existence of a Dajjal in the name of no visual evidence, they're displaying the very weakness that makes them more likely to fall for his visual distortions. I can't see it, I don't believe it. Where is this Dajjal now?
They say, "Oh, really? Dajjal sounds funny, you know?" And so people start to deny it. Why? Because I can't find it now. I don't see it now. They trust their vision so much that they're most likely to fall victim to their vision when the actual Dajjal rises. May Allah protect us from his filth. This false Messiah, he knows he's an imposter. Allah will cause him to see things that will put him in his place. The Prophet said, when the Dajjal comes to Medina and Mecca, he would see the angels standing around them holding their armors and weapons, and he would not come anywhere near them. He will come dragging with him a paradise or a river of milk and honey on one side, and a hell or a river of molten lava on his other side. When Dajjal presents his paradise and says, "Enter into my paradise," do not. These tricks and this deception speaks to a weakness that grows beyond within us. It's not just about the tools, but also about the search for instant gratification, an inability that we're developing to see past surface level, where people in general try to recreate themselves and their universe to fit their desires, and they don't think about the long-term consequences. They don't think about ethics. They don't think about what this is going to mean. So then, what happens when he says, "Here, you can escape, you can enter into this, and you'll have everything that you want, and you don't have to wait for anything. Just go ahead and step in." Think about people and the mindsets of people as they take that step in, right? And what's going through their minds? Is it that they're so convinced that he is indeed God? Is it that, what's the worth of this life anyway? And someone that might say, "You know what, I don't care, I'll step in anyway. What's the worst that could possibly happen?" The Prophet said that he comes with a likeness of paradise, the appearance of a paradise. And he said that his Jannah, or paradise, is actually fire. And in another narration, he said, if one of you sees that, if you get into a situation where you're standing right in front of him, and that's what you have to do, the Prophet said, lower your gaze, close your eyes, put your head down, and drink from or enter the boiling water and lava river.
And he said, I swear it will be cool water. It's flipped. Don't be deceived by what's being put out in front of you like that. And people have to ask themselves, what motivations and weaknesses the Dajjal preys upon that could be within us. And this is what I want to end with. The deception of the Dajjal cannot happen without the deception of this worldly life and the deception of the devil and the allure of this world. But we can't see past appearances. People become relegated to the material world. They can't see past it. And the promise of the devil to God was what? That he will not rest until he makes every human a disbeliever and a non-repenting sinner. He will not rest until he leads every human to the pits of hellfire instead of the gardens of paradise. That is his life mission to the day of judgment. But remember, all he can do is call us. But you have the will to say no. You are in control of your decisions. If you boil down the deception of Satan, or shaitan in Arabic, the deception of the devil is that the pleasure that you're going to enjoy right now is greater than any possible consequences you might face. That's a mindset, that's a weakness that's exploited, and that grows. And then the final piece of that is simply a presentation of what you want to jump into. And we have to resist as the world becomes shallower and our senses become more distorted, falling prey to that type of stuff, and not thinking about the long-term consequences or about our purpose, which becomes so easily diluted. And thinking about why we exist is so easily diluted. And thinking about the hereafter when we can't see it and we don't have 3D graphics or actors or movies and what not thinking about that meeting with your God on Judgment Day will look like. For me, I'm thinking about that idea of being held accountable and thinking about that idea of reward and punishment. You got to see through it all and remind yourself that I can't turn my senses into something that's divine.
nor can I put my trust into tools that are becoming ever more deceptive and deceitful. Till the next video, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell us in the comments, how do you look at today's deceptions? And watch this video to learn more about the Antichrist's appearance, methods, and current minions and servants.